Daniel, I just made you the host, so we can start the presentation now.
Okay, great. Just 1 second. Let me just see if I can share my screen.
Sure.
Okay, I'll just do a little intro really quick. Hello, everyone. Okay. Okay, so I believe I've spoke with joining campus just a few months ago, just a little bit over our programs, but so today it's mostly just a refresher, so that way we can have a more consistent admission process for this coming in intake in the fall. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and then if you have any questions at all, we can wait until the end. But yes, just save your questions until the end. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so again, my name is Danielle Baldo. I am an admissions counselor at Galileo Global Education. And one of the schools that we do the admissions for is the Paris School of Business. So the beauty of the Paris School of Business is it is very international. It's one of our schools that offer both French and English taught programs, which allows a lot of international students to come to France without actually knowing, without the prior knowledge of the French language. So this really puts students in contact with students from all over the world. And at the same time, they can also pick up the French language, which is an added benefit if they would like to continue working in France or even a Francophone country. Okay, here we are. So the PSB is a fully recognized and accredited business school. It was founded in 1974, and we offer English and French taught programs for undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. And one of the added benefits of attending PSB is we are world renowned. We offer accredited degree programs, especially when international students come to our school. They want to make sure that they are going into a program that offers an accredited degree, because whenever they go back to their home country, sometimes they are afraid about the accreditation of the studies that they did abroad. So we make sure that the students are obtaining a state accredited diploma that they can take over to their home country, specifically in India. So yes, so this is something that we clarify each year. And if there are any changes within a program, let's say recently one of our programs, the MSc in International Marketing and Business Development, after December 18th, the accreditation unfortunately is no longer valid, but anyone that applied or did the program prior to that, they still will be getting a recognized diploma. So yes, we are very consistent in informing all of our agents, all of our students, if their degree program they're pursuing is going to be an accredited degree. Okay, so we're going to be discussing our undergraduate program, and since most of your students are interested in English taught programs, this is what we will be focusing on today. Right, so the Bachelor of Business Administration is a 3-year bachelor's degree. So students can apply to our program directly after they've completed their high school education. And in the past, I have seen students who have completed only their 10th and their 11th, or even just their 10th from India. So, and they end up doing just a 3-year diploma program. So unfortunately, if they haven't completed their 12th standard and received their higher secondary degree certificate, they unfortunately would not be eligible to go into the BBA program. They need to have completed their higher secondary education in order to be considered for the BBA. So any 3-year diploma, regardless of what the program is, because it's not the equivalent to the higher secondary degree certificate, they would not be able to go into the BBA program. So yes, students that want to go into the BBA, they don't necessarily need to have a background in business. They don't need to know exactly what they'd like to go into business. That is the benefit of going into the BBA program. During the first 2 years, they will be able to do general management courses. And then by the 3rd year, they'd be able to choose their specialization. Some students already have a solid idea of what they'd like to do during the 3rd year, but sometimes that changes as the program progresses. Right, so here you'll see that this is the overview of the 1st and 2nd year. They're both years are 60 ECTS credits. And then during the third year, they'd be able to declare their major and choose either finance and accounting, international management, international marketing, luxury brand management, and e-commerce and digital marketing, which is a program that was just opened this past fall intake. So they have a few different options that they can choose from. And again, they would not need to know this once they are applying to PSB. Okay, here, so this is just gives an overview of the classes they would be taking. So all students will be taking the same general management courses for the BBA for those first 2 years. And then by the third year, they would be separated into their major. Okay, and as you see here, it gives you the third year. You see that they can go into marketing, management, luxury brand, finance and accounting, and then also the e-commerce. And then here they nicely laid it out to show you what the student will be taking during that year. Okay, and so let's say they want to continue their studies at PSB after the completion of the BBA program. So, oops, sorry, I think my camera is going off. So they can go directly into one of our MBA or our MSc programs or our Master in Management programs at PSB. So I'm not sure if you are aware, but at PSB, we do have the MIM, which is the Masters in Management program, which is a 5-year degree program, which is the Programme Grande École, which means it is one of the more prestigious type of programs at PSB. The only downside is during the first 3 years, those are only offered in French, although after they go, if they're interested in going into a 2-year master program, they can go into one of the English taught programs. So we do have 3 different specializations they can choose that are English taught. One would be luxury brand management, finance, and then also international business. So those ones would be taught 100% in English. So the first year they'd be taking courses, and then the second year would be alternance, which means that the student would be going to classes part-time, and then they would also be working with a company. So this is a very attractive option to our students, although it can be difficult, especially if they do not know the French language. Even though the program is taught 100% in English, if they are hoping to work for a French company, it would really benefit them if they knew some of the language. So if this is not an option, if they are really hesitant about learning the French language, this is when they'd actually go into instead one of our English taught MSc programs. Okay, here, so this is the outline of the Programme Grande École, the Master in Management, as I previously mentioned. So they have the luxury brand management, international business, and international finance, which are the Programme Grande École, which are offered in English. So again, if they aren't planning to learn any French at all, they would just go into instead the MSc in International Management. Oh, excuse me, I'm one of the MSc programs. Okay, and here is just a little breakdown of the Masters in Management program, the Programme Grande École. So those first 3 years only offered in French, and the last 2 years they can either go into a French or English taught specialization. Here's just another overview of the courses they'd be taking in the Programme Grande École program. Okay, and so here this is the different specializations that they would be able to choose if they were going into the PGE program. So they put a little flag here just to probably show you which programs are offered in English. So it's a little bit of a limited option, but if this is something they'd really like to go into, if they're really interested in going into working at a company during the second year, this would be a fantastic option for them. But again, French is an added factor. Okay. So now we're going to discuss the English taught MSc programs. All right, so at PSB, we offer several different management programs. So if a student has a different type of background, we're sure we can find a business management program that would suit them. So we have arts and cultural management, hospitality, luxury and fashion, international management, finance, marketing strategy, and also purchasing and supply chain management. So here, as you see, we do have a lot of different options. we have a lot of applicants who complete a bachelor's in engineering, and a lot of them like to go into purchasing and supply chain management because that's kind of the background that they have, and this is something that they'd like to pursue in the future. But we've also even had a student who has a bachelor's of law, but they actually want to go into luxury and fashion management. So we don't try to discourage any students if they do not have an academic or professional background related to the MSc necessarily, but we want to see that they've somehow demonstrated their interest in this particular specialization. So if it's inconsistent from their previous studies, they'll just really need to explain to us why they'd like to go into luxury and fashion management if they have a bachelor's in law, for example. Okay, here all of the MSc programs will have the same type of structure. So it's going to be either a 90 ECTS program or 120 ECTS program. So we need to stress this a lot beforehand because the 90 ECTS program, as you see here, 90 ECTS degree is if the student has completed a 4-year bachelor's degree. And then if for a 4-year bachelor's degree, that's mostly students who have completed a bachelor's in engineering, or they've done an additional master's. But if you have a student that has completed a Bachelor of Commerce, from what I've seen, that's mostly a 3-year undergraduate degree, meaning they would need to go into the 120 ECTS program. So that means they would be doing overall a 16-month course rather than the 12-month course if they had completed a 4-year bachelor's degree. So this is very important to, oh, I'm sorry, did someone raise their hand? Yes, Mohammed, do you have a question?
Daniel, actually, they are in the muted mode. So, we can have the question answer session at the end of the webinar.
Oh, okay. We just want to make sure. I just saw the hand. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so yes, as I was saying, it's very important for us to know beforehand if they are applying to the 90 ECTS or 120 ECTS. This is because if the student would like to apply for the APS, which is the stay back visa after they graduate from PSB, they need to actually have the appropriate amount of credits of graduation in order to go into APS. Let's say if a student has a 3-year degree, but somehow they enter the 90 ECTS program, if they wanted to go into APS, that will not be possible. So they cannot do that. They need to have completed a certain amount of credits in order to be eligible for the APS. So this is very important. So when the student is applying, they need to be very truthful in their previous degree, indicating whether that they've done a 3 or 4-year bachelor's degree, or if they've done an additional master, an additional bachelor, because then that would actually move them into the 90 ECTS program. Okay, let's see here. Just want to make sure. Okay, so here, this one that I was going over was the MSc in International Management. I wanted to go over this one just because this is a very general management course. If you have students who are not sure what type of management they would like to go into, this is a great option because it does give a wide umbrella of options for students. So some of the programs are more specific. For example, the MSc in International Finance or Supply Chain Management, those are very focused on those type of specializations, whereas international management, you can have a lot of options in whatever type of field you'd like to go into. All right, so here, this also gives an overview of the MSc in International Management. So we do have intakes every 2 times a year. So we have one in the fall and then one in the spring. So that is an option for all of the programs that we have at PSB. Just like the BBA program, they also have a fall and a spring intake. And right now we are accepting applications for fall 2022. So everyone will be taking the same courses. Sometimes they change just depending on course availability for that academic year. Okay, here, so that also gives an overview because the 90 ECTS, of course, it is a 12-month duration rather, and the 120 ECTS program is a 16-month duration. So they will be taking more courses during that time. Okay. And the next program that we have is the Master of Business Administration. So for this program, students are required to have a 4-year undergraduate education or have done an additional bachelor's or another master's. So if they're interested in the Master of Business Administration, they need to have that academic background and in addition, at least 3 years of managerial experience. So this can come immediately after their bachelor's degree. After they've completed their 4-year degree, they have 3 years of managerial experience. They can be eligible for the Master of Business Administration. So this is a good option for students. If we see from their profile when they're applying to one of the MSc programs and we see that they actually have a lot of years of experience, we might actually redirect them to this program because this may suit them better. And especially because this is one of the more prestigious programs that we offer at PSB as well. As you see, it's particularly suited to executives willing to advance their career through completion of an AMBA accredited MBA program. So this is a very attractive option for our international students. Okay, and here, this also gives an overview of the MBA program. And because it is for the students who have completed a 4-year degree, it is only 12 months, just like the 90 ECTS program. Okay, and the MBA also has a fall and a spring intake, so they have the option of applying to one or the other, just depending on when the admissions have opened. Okay, so now the next step. So how can a student actually apply to our school? So what they will need is they'll need to complete everything that's listed on the documents here. And because PSB is part of Galileo Global Education, all the students will be filling out the Galileo Global Education international student application form, excuse me. So we have one international application form that is used for all of our schools. And even though they're going to the Paris School of Business, we will not accept the PSB application form. We will only accept our GGEF international application form. So once we have that, they will also need a photocopy of the passport, a resume, motivation letter, letter of recommendation, copy of the high school degree certificate, and their university certificate, and any supporting documents that would help benefit their application. So let me just make sure here. Okay, so yes, if we do not receive any documents, let's say they want to go into the 90 ECTS program, but we don't have any documentation that proves that they actually have the credits required to go into the 90 ECTS. If we don't have it here, it will not be possible. So we need to see if they want anything to be considered, we'll need to have it in their complete application. And also, if you have students who want to apply and let's say they only give you the application form and a resume, but everything else is missing, please hold off and not send it to us because we will not be able to process the application until it is 100% complete. So we at Galileo are very efficient only if we are able to receive a completed application form. So you as the agent, it's better for you to hold onto the application documents until everything listed here is complete. Then you can send it to us. We actually will schedule the interview within that week, and then you will receive the results of the application the following week. So in order for us to be consistent with this efficiency, this is what we would need from your side. Okay, and here this is the Galileo Global Education in application form. So it's a general application form. We just want to see all of their information, making sure everything is consistent. And one thing that is very important to us is having their personal phone number and their email address. So we understand that the students are coming from your agency, so we will never contact the student directly, but it's important that we have their own email address and phone number, so that way we can input the student in our system and make sure that the school is able to correspond with them once they register. So this contact information needs to be consistent throughout their application form. For example, if they indicate their email address and their phone number on this form, but it does not match what they put in their CV, we'll need to come back to you just to verify, because we don't know if it's a made up email address from the agency. If the student doesn't check this email address, we want to make sure that it is correct and the student isn't missing information. Because there have been times where I've needed to email a student on my own because of the interview or contact them via phone, but the information does not match or it does not work. So it will be a lot quicker and more efficient if you're able to just verify that the contact information of the student is correct. That way we can do everything smoothly, and then things will go a lot quicker than if we didn't have the correct information. And here, so this is a general application form that we used for our direct students and our agency students. And since your students are coming through joining campus, they will not be required to pay a €90 application fee. So coming through joining campus, they are exempted. They will not need to be paying that fee. Okay, so yes, so this is, as I was saying, this is a three-step admission procedure. So once we receive the application, we verify that everything is complete. If the student is eligible, we will contact you, the agent, to schedule an online interview. And then they'll have an online interview with myself or someone on my team. And then they will receive the results from the back office. They'll receive the admission letter and the registration form. So if the student is accepted, they'll get the admission letter, registration form, and the information on how to pay their deposit. Okay, so continuing on PSB, here we have a strong network of partner institutions, so students will be able to network with different companies while being at PSB, especially if they are in the 120 ECTS program. They're actually required within the program to pursue an internship, so that puts them in contact with a lot of people and a lot of players in the field. So yes, powerful link with companies. Again, during the internship process, this is very beneficial to our international students. So they get this assistance at the Career Center. They can even receive, let's say they want to work on their resume, their CV, they can use this Career Center to help boost their options. And here's an overview of all the different companies that we've worked with in the past. So students, if they're interested, they can go to the Career Center and see what the options and possibilities are with working with companies that we've had in the past. At PSB, we do have a very dynamic student life. As you know, as I mentioned at the very beginning, it's international because of our English top programs. We're attracting a lot of students from all over the world. So students are able to network, meet different people, really learn about different cultures just by being at our school. Okay, and we also have an active alumni network. So students, they are automatically in the alumni network once they graduate from PSB, and then that can even give different options. Like let's say they don't want to go back to India, they'd like to go somewhere else in Europe or even in another continent. They'll be able to connect with previous PSB students and possibly find different opportunities. Okay, see, as you see here, it's a 15,000 students are alumni of PSB. Okay, and we have a very dedicated staff. Here at PSB, we have, they're actually active professionals. So you're not going to be having an instructor that learned about 20 years ago and hasn't changed their teaching methods. So they work with what is actually happening in the current market and modify what is happening in the world and instruct the students that way. Okay, and then you also have a full support. So once you have been admitted and you've registered at PSB, you will receive assistance from our side just regarding pre-departure. You'll also receive your registration letter verifying that you've paid and you are registered at PSB. And this will actually help you. This letter will help you when you're applying for your student visa. So you are coming through an agency, so they should be assisting with you on this part, but you do get that letter from our side that will really help when you are applying for the student visa, because it verifies that you are registered within a school and have paid. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation for PSB. So I'm here to answer any questions that you have. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so I believe I saw some questions here. Okay, so Mohammed Shafiq, you're asking about Pakistani students' entry requirements are same as Indian students. Yes, all of our students will be doing the same admission process, whether they're coming from Pakistan or India or Sri Lanka. Everyone will be going through the same admission process. And Maya, the English language requirements. So if they have completed their higher secondary education or their bachelor's degree 100% in English, they will be exempted from any TOEFL or IELTS exam. This is actually why we have the online interview, because we want to verify that they have the appropriate level of English for their program. So this is, so you as the agent, if you can verify beforehand, if you're able to speak with the student and they have a good level, that's already a good sign. And then they will actually go to us and we'll verify during the online interview if they have a good level. Although if you are speaking with a student and you see that they have a very difficult time expressing themselves, understanding questions in English, they may need to take an English exam, or they need to wait until the following intake to apply. And Maya, for ranking, yes, so a few of our programs are ranked differently, but I can, if you'd like, I can send to Imali or Avani, I can send the rankings to them and they can share it with you. And let's see, and Mohammed, yes, so the intake, so right now the intake for spring is unfortunately closed because we've already begun the program. So right now we're accepting applications for fall 2022, and the deadline to apply is June 30th. So it's just better for the students to apply sooner, that way we can make sure that they have enough time to apply for their French student visa. Okay. Oh, and Mohammed, I just answered the English requirement. I hope that was clear. And does Georgia's need IELTS and TOEFL? Okay, so yes, Maya, so yes, students from Georgia, if they haven't done their higher secondary education or their university education in English, they will be required to submit an IELTS or a TOEFL. So the same as everyone, we are able to exempt certain students from the English proficiency exam if they've done their studies in English, specifically in a native English speaking country like the United States. If they study in the UK or Australia for a few years, then we'd be able to exempt them from this English requirement. But again, we do have the online interview to verify everything, to make sure that the student just doesn't write well or test well, they were actually able to express themselves. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go through the discussion here. I'm going to just check if there's any questions here.
Daniel, they are typing the questions in chat box as well as in the QA box. You can check both the boxes.
Okay, great. Yes, I'm looking through the discussion box now.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so I believe Imali is recording the session, so she'll be able to share the session with you. Okay, let's see. Okay, check radar. Ma'am, how many people are getting job after their studies and chances of getting part-time? All right, so for getting jobs after PSB, they have a lot of options. So especially with the Indian and I believe, I'm sorry, I'm not sure about the Pakistani students or if they're from Sri Lanka or from Georgia, but with France and India, they do have an agreement where after they complete a master's program in France, they are able to apply for the APS, which I mentioned earlier, which is the 1-year stay back visa. So once a student graduates, they're able to have that 1 year to look for a job in France. So the preference is, of course, to find something earlier in that year. That way they can actually benefit from that entire year of working. And then if things go well, if the company likes that student, there's a possibility of extending the visa or even offering a real full-time position in France. So that's a great option. So if you're looking for actual companies, I'll just need to get that information from PSB so I can share that with you, and I can share that with Joining Campus later on. And as for part-time jobs, if a student is interested in getting a part-time job during their studies, we encourage them to wait until after they've joined the program. That way that they have their class schedule, and that way we can ensure that it doesn't interfere with their classes. Because of course, coming to a new country, it can be overwhelming at the beginning. So we just want to make sure that they can focus on their studies firsthand. And then if things are going well, they can start looking for part-time work. And looking for part-time work in France can be difficult, but it's not impossible. They can work in restaurants, they can sometimes work in the kitchen, they can even do some English tutoring, or just because if they do not speak any French, sometimes it can be difficult to find a part-time job because mostly it's going to be nannying positions, restaurant work, and tutoring, unless they're able to find a company that they can work for who's looking for English speakers. But yes, as it is in Paris, there are a lot more options of English speaking positions. Okay, and Kunal, what are the tuition fees for bachelor's and master's programs? All right, so for the BBA program, right now the BBA is 8,900 euros per year, and it is a 3-year program. So students will need to be able to pay 8,900 euros each year of the program. And then for the MSc programs, the master programs, for the 90 ECTS, that one is, I just need to make sure it's 13,500 euros for 90 ECTS. And then for the 120 ECTS, that one is 17,000 euros. So those are for the general MSc programs. The only one that's a little bit different is the luxury and fashion management program. That one is a little bit pricier just because of what the course entails. I just need to get the exact amount for that one. It's roughly 19,000 euros for the 90 ECTS and around 23,000 for the 120 ECTS. Okay. And Mohammed, I believe it says, living costs per month. When it comes to housing, students should expect to pay roughly around 500 or let's say 600 to 900 euros per month. And it really depends on where they're living and the type of housing that they are staying in. So yes, Paris is one of the pricier cities to live in. So we do connect students with some housing that are more on the outskirts of Paris or just cheaper areas around Paris. So even though wherever they're living, they'll still be able to access PSB easily through the public transport, either through bus, metro, bike, scooter. They'll still be able to go easily to the school regardless of where they are located. But yes, for cost of living, we would say that they should anticipate to pay around 600 to 900 euros per month for housing alone. And then as for their personal expenses, we would say at least 1,000, maybe 1,200 just for spending money, just in case. I mean, if this amount can be more or less, it just really depends on the lifestyle of the students. Right. And what is PR criteria after study? I'm sorry, PR, public relations, or Mamta?
They're asking for the permanent residency and eligibility criteria after
Oh,
studies.
permanent resident. Sorry, excuse me. I wasn't familiar with the acronym. So permanent residency. So this actually, it will depend on any company that they are working for. If, let's say, if they would like to stay longer in France, it really depends on their situation. If they are working in a company that is willing to extend and support their visa. So this kind of question is more specific to the French embassy. So it's best for this, if the student is interested, they should talk with their French embassy to see what are the options of being able to stay longer, because really it depends on their personal situation and also the company that they are working for. But it is definitely possible, especially with the APS option for our Indian students. There is a possibility of staying a bit longer than that 1 year. It could be extended even possibly to 2 years or more. Okay, and on completion of 90 ECTS, is it difficult to get PR than profiles who complete 120? No, not at all. So because both students who complete the 90 or the 120 ECTS, they are able to apply for the APS. It's just the 120 students, they just need to complete the required amount of credits in order to get to the APS. So yes, the options will be the same for the students, whether they complete 90 or 120. Okay, if you have questions, just let me know, or if something I said wasn't clear, you could just please type in the message board and I'd be happy to clarify. Okay, 12-month post-study. Okay, but I'm going back into the question box. 12-month post-study work permit is possible after 20 or 90 ECTS. Yes, so for students, it is possible. I was speaking primarily with regarding the Indian students, but if you are from another country, you'll just need to verify with your French embassy because this kind of agreement, it really depends on each country. So that it's just better to speak to the local French embassy to clarify, make sure to give you the right information. Just because sometimes within the school, we don't have this information just because we have so many different nationalities who are attending. So sometimes it's very country specific. And for the English exam, so for the TOEFL, we'll need to have the TOEFL exam will need to have actually an 80, a total full score of 80. And for the IELTS, we'll need to have a 6, an overall 6. So if they're coming from a non-native English speaking country, they'll need to have that. And Duolingo, we do not accept that exam, especially since right now there's still time to apply for your English exam. So at the moment, we're not accepting the Duolingo exam. So previously we did because of COVID and the testing sites were not open. So right now we are only accepting the IELTS or the TOEFL exam. And Maya, as far as scholarships, we unfortunately do not have any scholarships within PSB, but we always advise students to check with the embassy again, because they're the ones that will let you know if, for example, in Georgia, if there are any scholarships for students pursuing a business type of program. So it's best to contact for anything regarding finances or possibility of working after PSB. That's better to contact the local French embassy for the procedure and the requirements. Okay. And the location of the school, it's located in the 13th arrondissement. So if you look at a map of Paris, it's actually a counterclockwise snail shape. And it's actually, it's in the 13th arrondissement, which is more of the south western part of Paris. So you're still within the Paris city limits. So it makes everything really accessible for students. It's actually a great location for student life because students are in Paris. Everything is very close. They don't need to go a far distance to go to school, to go home, or even meet up with friends, restaurants, museums. Okay. Okay, PSB not accepting Duolingo. What are the chances of getting an offer with class 12 English marks? So if they are doing their higher secondary education, I believe they will be able to go into the program without doing a Duolingo, IELTS, or TOEFL. This is when you would come in and make sure and verify that the student is able to communicate in English. Because if you see that they cannot, you'll need to redirect them to either an IELTS or TOEFL exam, or just have them wait to apply for the following intake. Because if at this point, even though they did their higher studies in English, sometimes I've had interviews before where the student is unable to communicate with me other than what they had memorized prior to the interview. So if you're able to just screen the student, making sure that they have the good level of English, then we can accept the student and we will interview them. And then if they do well in the interview, then they should receive a positive response from our side. Okay, what should we do if a student was unable to take IELTS? Can you provide a course with pre-sessional English course? And if yes, what is the fee for it? So PSP, unfortunately, we do not have any English courses because we are primarily only a business institution. So we do not offer any pre-English courses. So they will need to do that beforehand. Oh, let's see. Oh. Okay, does anyone have any questions? If you'd like, you can raise your hand or anything. Or I'm sorry, I believe you are all muted, but I'm still here if you have any questions at all. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so maybe there were a few things I just wanted to make sure. Yes, just I had a couple notes to mention. So I just wanted to reiterate regarding the BBA program. So yes, if they want to go into the BBA, we just please make sure that they have completed their 10th, 11th, and 12th. They've completed their higher secondary education because yes, as I mentioned earlier, even if they've completed a diploma in engineering, it's not equivalent. So they need to complete their 12th standard in order to be considered for the BBA. So sometimes the application slips and someone forgets that we do not accept that. This is why we review the application just to make sure they have all the documents required to be eligible for the program. But yes, if you see early on that the student hasn't completed their higher secondary education, you can tell them that unfortunately will not be a good fit for PSB. And then for the MSc programs, it's just better if you can indicate on the application form, let's say they want to go into MSc in international management, please indicate 90 ECTS or 100 ECTS. This way we know beforehand that they have the qualifications in order to go into that particular program. We will still be reviewing the application form, but it just makes it a smoother process just so we can verify that this is the program they'd like to go into. So if we want to make sure that also that their CV and the documents that they submit are very consistent. So let's say they have a bachelor's in law, but they've also did a bachelor's of engineering, but they did not indicate that on the CV or in their academic documents. We will not be able to know that. So if they want any previous academics to be considered or to be considered for their application, they need to make sure that they indicate that information on their documents. And with the CV, we want to make sure it is the most up to date, because if it's not, a lot of the information that they put is not up to date. We don't know if the information that they're putting is correct, and also the contact information, which is very important to have. And let's see if there's anything else I wanted to make sure. Okay, and regarding the fees, I just want to make sure that the fees, the actual tuition fees, do not include any housing. So it's only the fees, only tuition. So when you speak with your students, just make sure that they are aware of this, because we don't want them to come here and they assume by paying this fee that it's including everything that they're planning to spend while staying in Paris, because it only covers the school fees. But any trips that they do within the school, any documents that they need for the school, those are all included in the tuition fees. That's all part of the PSB package. Okay, so
Daniel,
yes.
yeah, you can explain, regarding the eligibility for 90 ECTS in more detail, that if student is having 12 plus 3 of years of education, okay, but if they have work experience of more than 3 years, then are they eligible to go for 90 ECTS?
Okay, so thank you, Molly, for the question. So yes, this question has come up several times before. So if a student has a 12 plus 3, if they have done their only a 3-year undergraduate degree, but they have work experience, unfortunately, that would not make them eligible for the 90 ECTS program. So this requirement to go into 90 ECTS is all credit based. So regardless if they have several years of experience, we unfortunately cannot reorient them to the 90 ECTS program. So it's again 100% credit based. So if they somehow slip and go into the program that they're not supposed to enter, this will affect them negatively when they graduate, because let's say they want to do the 1-year stay back visa, they don't have the actual academic credits in order for them to go into the APS option. So it's very important that if they do not have the 4 years of undergraduate education, they cannot go into 90 ECTS. So that's just very important to clarify beforehand. But also something that has happened this past year, we have had students who have completed a 4-year undergraduate degree, but they would like to go into 120 ECTS. They can do that. That is an option. It just, of course, they would be paying more. They'd be paying at least 3,500 euros more for their fees. But we've had a lot of students who prefer to stay in the program for a longer period of time. Although it's important that once they do register for the class, they are not able to switch back. This actually happened recently, and a student had the credits to go into 90 ECTS, but he informed us, oh, I would really like to go into the 120 ECTS program, So we said, okay, this is fine, but you need to, I clarified with the student, once you do this, you cannot go back. Once you are registered and you have paid, we cannot switch you back into the prior program. And the student was fine with that. But the moment that he joined the school, he asked if he could switch back, and that is not possible because this needs to all be done beforehand through the admission process. And once a student is registered, they've paid and they are registered at the school, no changes can be made. So we need to clarify this at the very beginning, for which if they're going into the 90 or ECTS program. And again, I'm sorry, unfortunately, the work experience, no matter how long that they've been working after their 3-year bachelor's degree, it unfortunately will not exempt them from the 120 ECTS program. Molly, did that clear that up a little bit?
Thank you, Daniel.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and even you can inform, about the application form that it should be digitally filled. So you can explain that thing clearly so you won't face any difficulties in further applications.
Oh, great. Okay. Yes, let me just open up the application form. Just 1 second then. Okay. Okay, everyone, so here is the international student application form. So here, just in the past, we've had people handwrite their applications, but we need to be consistent, make sure everything is spelled correctly. So we want everyone to type. So here it says, please type your answers, no handwritten applications will be accepted. So even regardless of it being typed here in bold, a lot of people overlook it quickly and just start filling out the application form by hand. So if you can screen your applicants, making sure that they input all of the information here typed, that will be amazing, because then we won't have to go back to you and have you have the student retype the information. Okay, and then also just make sure, again, as I mentioned before, please make sure that the email address and the phone number is correct, just making sure that this is the student's direct contact information. Okay, so yes, a general application form that we need to have their name, where they're coming from, their email, phone number. And then we also would like to have their previous studies listed here. So if a student has completed a bachelor's of engineering, you can indicate that here. Also list the year that they graduated and also how many years of study that they completed. So if they did a bachelor's of engineering, I'm assuming that they did 4 years. So you would just simply indicate 4 years here. And also they can indicate their, if they've done an English exam, they can put that here. But if they're coming from a native English speaking country or they've done their studies in English, this portion they can leave blank because they don't have an exam. And also sometimes our applicants have done a French test as well, even though they're applying to an English program, they can put that information here also. And here, so as I mentioned before, this is an application form that is used for our direct applicants and agent applicants. But again, you are exempted from the 90 euro application fee, so you can please disregard this portion. And here it also has the list of required documents in English or in French. And you will just need to send all this information to Joining Campus, and they will transfer the information to me, and I will verify if everything is correct. And if not, someone from Joining Campus will contact you and make to send any missing documents. So here it does indicate a few different things that don't apply to the Paris School of Business. For example, the portfolio, these are only for our art and design programs. So if they're applying to PSB, they don't actually need to submit a portfolio. And also here is the 90-year application fee, which you are also all exempted from. And the IELTS and TOEFL, they're accepted. But again, if they come from an English speaking background or their studies were in English, you don't need to worry about that option as well. So any questions about the application form?
So Daniel, now we will receive all the perfect applications.
Okay.
And we can also inform about the deferment process. Okay, that we have the clause of that 1500 euros.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So deferment. So right now we are accepting, we've accepted applicants for our January 2022 intake. But let's say if they had a visa refusal or they decided due to COVID that they would like to postpone their studies, there is a deferral option. But because their admission is valid for this January 2022 intake, they need to justify why they are deferring to the next intake. So let's say the student hasn't registered at all. They will need to pay a 1,500 euro deferral fee, which is actually deducted from their entire tuition fees. So it is not an additional fee, it's part of their entire tuition, but we need to make sure that the student is actually serious about attending the next intake. So they need to pay this 1,500 euro deferral fee, and we will give them a new admission document. And then once we receive the remaining fees of their deposit or the remaining fees of their entire tuition, we will give them their registration letter, and they can actually begin the process of their visa. So yes, if a student is admitted for one intake, they can defer their admission to up to 1 year. So if they don't want to go into the following intake, they can go into the next one. We can do a deferral process for them. So that's an option. But if the student, let's say they're applying through you and they already know they would like to go instead to spring 2023, it's better for them to wait to apply, because right now it would just be too soon if their whole intention is deferring for spring 2023. So if they, unless they're really interested in going into, let's say, fall 2022, and all of a sudden they decide they want to defer to spring 2023, we can do that. That's not a problem. But if their intention is for the next year, we just advise them to wait until admissions have opened.
Thank you so much,
additional?
Daniel. I
No, my
think,
pleasure.
yeah, you had solved mostly all of their queries, and obviously the presentation was very wonderful and it contains all the detailed information. So it will
Okay,
be
good to
very
hear.
helpful for further generations.
Okay, great. So yes, if any of you have questions, just feel free to send Imali a message, and then I'm sure she'll go back to me if she has any questions as well.
Sure. Can you please share this presentation to us so we can pass on to our associates?
Oh, was that to me?
Yeah, Daniel, I'm just asking that can you please share this presentation to?
Oh, yes, I believe, oh, I wasn't the one recording. Was it you that recorded? Would you be able to send
Yeah,
it?
it is recorded. It's recorded itself, but it would be great if you can share the presentation as well.
Oh, the presentation. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes, the PowerPoint. Excuse me. Okay, no
No
problem.
worries.
Yes, I'd be happy to share the presentation.
Sure, Daniel.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. I know it's a little late in the month, but Happy New Year regardless. And I hope you're all staying safe, and that the COVID cases are going down, hopefully everywhere. Yes.
Sure. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time. Take care
Of
of
course.
yourself.
You as well. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of the day.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Goodbye.